Manchester United host Liverpool at Old Trafford. George, how do you see this one playing out?
Do you know what? I'm actually really looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be a good one. Do you know what? You guys have tended to be favourable against Liverpool in most recent years, especially when you've been playing at home. You've had a few decent games. You won last year, am I right in saying? You guys beat them, right?
We drew with them in the league, beat them in the FA Cup.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But the performance last week, the one against Brighton, you guys were a bit poor. I'll be honest. I wasn't really impressed. I do think you guys had the ball a bit better and you dominated possession at times, but I feel like you didn't really do much with it. I think Liverpool, on the other hand, when I've seen them, they've looked really good. Liverpool don't look much off last year, and if anything, they look a little bit better. They look like they're gelling really well. I think that this is going to be a dangerous one, man. I don't want to go out there and say it, but I think Liverpool are going to hit you guys for free. I think Man United are going to have a really bad showing this weekend, man. I think Ten Hag shows his arse again. And same as always, back to what we know Man United to be under Ten Hag. So yeah, I think Liverpool got this one.
I reckon a draw.
Again, so far watching United, I know that they've got slightly better, but nothing's dramatically changed. So like, yeah, they pass it around better, but like, are they actually playing better football? Like, again, it's only been 2 games, so like it's early to say. Whereas I look at Liverpool, and they've had this brand new system and everything, and I think they've probably been, apart from maybe Brighton, the most impressive team. Like, they barely conceded any like big chances on goal. They're creating so many chances.
Man United are creating more chances. Like, there was a stat that they are creating more chances, but they're also conceding roughly the same amount of shots on goal. Like that Brighton game, the last 30 minutes, Brighton just ran that midfield.
Yeah, but even still, when United were on top in the game, they weren't really cutting Brighton open. They had the ball and they passed it around a lot better than they were. But like, they didn't really do much with it. So I'm just thinking.
I think when Ugarte comes in, though, I think when Ten Hag, like, if I'm being brutally honest, I think Ten Hag's coaching has limits. But I think when there's better personnel, naturally you're going to get better performances. And I think they're crying out for reassurance in front of that back four. They're so that even Fulham had a 25-minute spell in the Old Trafford where United were under the cosh, and I think that's why they've wanted a DM for the entire window. Whether Ugarte if he's gonna be that guy, I think off the ball, I think Zubimendi would have been a better fit. On the ball, but off the ball, Ugarte may be a little bit better. But getting that balance between attack and midfield is going to be United's biggest problem. And if just while we're on United, I think they have to drop Marcus Rashford against Liverpool. I think they've got to go with Diallo and Garnacho. If Rashford's playing at the moment, I haven't got an agenda against him. I don't mind Rashford, but he's fallen off a cliff. Like, I looked at his last 4 seasons, and he can't make up whether he's a good player or a bad player. He's had like 25 GA, 6 GA, 30 GA, 8 GA. Like, he can't. I don't know if you've seen his FIFA ratings, by the way. He's gone up and down, up and down, up and down. Like, his season's output, he's fallen off a cliff. And I think if Ten Hag has his stubbornness and keeps playing him, it eventually is going to cost Man United. And this game as well.
Do you know what I say about Rashford is this? I don't disagree. I don't disagree with what you're saying about Rashford. I don't think it's about whether he's a good or a bad player. I've felt for a couple of years now that for him, a change could be as good as a rest. I don't know if any of you have had this in your job. David's probably a little bit too young to have had enough jobs to experience this, where you make some mistakes and you mess up. And when you're in that department or with that company, you never really get back to your best. You can't kind of shake it. The boss looks at you in a certain way, but you leave and go somewhere new and you basically get to reinvent yourself. That pressure goes away. And I do think I was listening to a psychologist talk, not about football. I think it was about basketball. It was an American guy. And he was saying how when he speaks to some of his clients who are basketball players, when they've had a bad time at certain, you don't call them clubs over there. What do you call them? Franchises, teams, right?
Yeah, franchises.
What he was basically saying is sometimes it's the noise that particular crowd makes when you're in the attack. Like Man United have their own songs as an example. All these things can trigger anxiety and stress as an example, which is why sometimes players leave one club, go to another, and they have a resurgence because that pressure goes away. And I think Rashford would be one of those individuals. The problem that Man United have got is that we couldn't get rid of all of our players this summer. We've got rid of a lot. It's the most players have sold in the summer, the most amount of money we've raised in the summer. But there's still a lot of work to do, which is why I implore Man United fans to not scorch earth, to remain a little bit dispassionate and understand that it's going to take years. And I think the likes of Rashford, the likes of Mason Mount, who's now got another injury, I believe this is their final season at the club to prove they're at the standard that for where we want to get back to, as an example. So I don't disagree. I would drop Rashford for this game. He's played the first 3 matches of the season, hasn't really done anything. He's missed some big chances. And I think you've got to, what I'm hoping that our new board are pushing is that the manager is rewarding success and he's essentially punishing mediocrity and mistakes. Maguire shouldn't start the game after his mistake against Brighton. We dominated the opening proceedings. They weren't cutting through us. The good ball into the box he should have cleared, and then he jumps out of the way of the cross, which was an average cross at best. It should have been cleared so simplistically and easy. But Maguire, if he starts the next game, those are the little signs that we're not changing enough. If Maguire starts on the bench, if Rashford is on the bench, I think it promotes a healthy environment in the dressing room. That all being said, I'm really excited about the game. I expect us to win. Regardless, I feel that we've had a good summer in terms of the transfer window. Ugarte's party's medical. I don't think he'll start, but I think he'll be involved. Liverpool are a good team. But even at their best in the last 10 years and our worst, we have still had many, many, many favourable results at home. So therefore, I'm expecting a team with new board, new outlook, that the players and manager are respecting, with a good summer of players in and out, I expect us to win the game. Doesn't mean I think Liverpool crap. Doesn't mean we should smash them, but I'm going to be annoyed if we don't win.
This is the first time I've heard you speak about your own team like this in a long time, Terry. But going to Liverpool and putting some expectation. Usually it's just But
it's because I've got again, we're 3 games into it, but I've got what I want, which is I do believe that when you have good people running your football club, it makes an impact on the football pitch. I believe that it's not just about the right manager or the right players per se. I think it's much bigger than that. If Spurs got new owners tomorrow and they came in and they genuinely made your players feel like our ambition is to win, not just to make money, you'd see that on your pitch within 6 months to a year. The fact that we have a good home record against Liverpool, irrespective of how good or bad we've been, with what the players say about training and how the club feels now, what the manager has said, even though we lost the last game against Brighton, I expect to win. I don't expect to smash them, as I've said, but I expect to win. And I expect us to, and what I really expect is for us to continue trying to play how we have done in the first 2 games. It hasn't been perfect, and I'm not going to say it is, but we've been harder to play through. Yes, Fulham had loads of the ball against us at home, but they weren't cutting through our defence. They had 1 breakaway shot that the goalkeeper saved. Brighton, up until the mistake from Maguire, they didn't get through our back line, through our midfield to create a clear-cut chance at all. The only open play, clear-cut chance they had that didn't come from a mistake from Man United was the chance for Milner at the beginning of the second half. The other 2 were a couple of set pieces. Again, we've got to work on them. So I believe we can beat them. I expect us to beat them. If I'm going to predict, I'm going to say 2-1 Man United, a narrow win. And let's go into the international break with confidence growing. But I do believe, whether Ten Hag stays or not, I do believe we're going to become a better team this year. And I believe so much of that is going to stem from the decisions being made off of the football pitch. I hear a lot of United fans say, I don't feel like much has changed. And I sit there and think, the most amount of sales of players we've ever seen before, plans for a new 100,000-seater stadium, £50 million invested into the training facilities, really good purchases at good prices so far. And we know there's been instructions to start playing differently in a way that's more accustomed to Man United. Yes, there's going to be some bumps in the road. I'm not going to lose faith in the rebuild. Not the manager, but the rebuild this early. But part of it is still seeing better performances week in, week out. And I still want to put the expectations on this team to win, because that's the only way we're going to become a more consistent team, is by having expectations and criticizing the mistakes while still understanding that it takes time to grow. So no, I'm looking forward to the game. It's always an amazing one, but I'm going for a 2-1 Man United win. I'm backing my team this weekend to do it.
Can I just ask
on Liverpool?
I love it.
On Liverpool though, as well. Everyone's saying about United, but like, I'll be honest, there's a bit on Liverpool as well, mate. They haven't been challenged yet this season. I know, like, they've looked good in their 2 games. By the way, no, they haven't. They've looked good in 1.5 games, because that first half against Ipswich, a better team. They start that game against Man United the way they started that first half. United could be 2 goals ahead at half time. So I think that, like, Liverpool have looked good and they could well and truly just beat United. But I do think there's this thing of a lot of eyes are going to also be on Liverpool, because they're finally having a challenge. They've played Ipswich and Brentford was at Anfield. So they haven't yet. Slot hasn't been under the cosh with
Brentford and Ipswich. Man United have conceded chances in the first few games, but let's not pretend like Brentford and Ipswich didn't create chances too. So that's why I don't think this is going to be a game where we're panned for 90 minutes, don't create opportunities. Now, if Liverpool are more clinical than we are, they'll win, and Liverpool can win this game. But this idea that any Man United fan sitting there going, "Oh, I'm dreading it, we're going to lose, there's no way we win," I think you're talking out your bumhole.
I see it being a draw.
Don't you think, Terry, as well?
I see it a draw. 2-2 draw is how I see that game going. I don't think Man United will lose at home to Liverpool. I think this is going to be. I don't think they'll let it happen, but I see it being a 2-2 draw. To be honest,
I swear, Giuseppe, you're a mind reader. I was literally going to say the exact same thing. When it comes to Man United versus Liverpool, I do see it being a close game, and I just think it's going to be a situation where Man United are going to hold on to the lead. And for some reason, Man United at home versus all the top 6 teams, it doesn't matter how bad they are. It doesn't matter how good they are. These games, you never go into there expecting the 3 points and just saying, we're going to walk all over them. It's always going to be a tough game. So this derbies, the cliche, but form goes out the window. I do think Man United are going to turn up. They're going to be really good defensively, resolute. And I do think Man United against the top teams, they are always scary on the counter, and they're going to get a goal. So it's going to be a situation where it ends up 2-2. And if I do see a winner, I would still say Liverpool would be favorites to win it, though.
Staffy here says, Terry watched the second half versus Brighton with a blindfold on, I guess. It weren't great in the first 10 minutes of it. I said that. But then we went for a period, we scored, and then we absolutely dominated them until the last 10 minutes. And it went wrong because the manager made a mistake. He took off Bruno Fernandes for McTominay. We had the opportunity to break away on multiple occasions. The ball goes through McTominay because that's now his role, and we did nothing with it. So I truly believe that if Bruno Fernandes would have stayed on that football pitch, we'd have won that game. Now, I'm not sitting here, Staffy, and saying we were perfect. I'm not sitting here and saying Brighton didn't have chances. I'm not sitting here and saying we're the finished article. But there was enough again in the opening 3 games for us this season. We are not getting played through like we did last year. And that's why my people go, why weren't you confident last year? Because we were getting outplayed for 90 minutes by relegation teams at home, and they were cutting through us like a hot knife through butter. I'm not saying it hasn't happened in parts of games, but no one can watch our opening 3 games and say that we are being run through like we were last season for the majority of the campaign. That just simply hasn't happened, in my humble opinion. So therefore, at home against our biggest rivals, where we very rarely lose in my lifetime, I'm demanding a win. I don't think that's unreasonable logic.
To play devil's advocate, if that goal goes in and Xerxes don't touch the ball, you don't know how the game ends either. Man United could have gone ahead and won that game 3-1.
There is that. There is also the other side to that, which is if Maguire just doesn't jump out the way of a ball, like the game would have been different. And these things, sometimes games go on that, and listen, I know where we are as a football club. I know we are nowhere near where I want us to be, and I'm very aware of that. But I do think there's still got to be expectations along the way as well. But there we go. What's your score prediction, Igal, for the game? You had 2-2, right?
I went with the 2-2 draw, Terry. But I find it funny when you say on the other coin, you didn't mention the negative. You could have drew the first game of the season, or dropped points in the first game of the season, or something crazy could have happened in that too. So Man United, yes, although you haven't been great at home, I do expect you to get some sort of positive.
I think I have mentioned the negatives. I have said that in all the games that we've played, we haven't sort of dominated from throughout. I've said that we've conceded opportunities in them as an example. I'm not proclaiming that we're perfect, but nor have Liverpool been. Liverpool are a better team than us. They're a title contending side, but I believe at home against them, we should be pushing for a result. And I suppose we all look at our teams differently. I don't know. Whenever I watch any of your teams play, no matter how bad you will say you are at times, I never feel nervous when teams are attacking against you. Does that make sense? I always feel like, well, you look okay. I've seen all your team get counterattacks and they go, oh, no, Thiago Silva will sort it out. Saliba will be fine. Van der Ven's got this. And 9 times out of 10, they do. I haven't felt that way about my football club in a long time. And I know you're always more nervous watching your team than anybody else's. But in the last 3 games, I've gone through large periods, even when we haven't had the ball, and I haven't felt, even when we played City, I don't feel like they're going to rip through us and score. And last season, that's all I felt in every single game. Now, that's not me saying we're back, because we've got to grow. We've got to make that more consistent, and we've got to play better football going forward. I agree with George. We haven't looked great at all times in terms of how we've played moving forward. But I think there's a foundation to grow from. I'd rather be hard to break down and beat than really, really good in the attacking sense, but leaky as fuck at the back. I'd rather start off by building a solid defense. And that's, I think, what's going to happen when De Ligt starts, when Ugarte comes in. I think we're going to become a very hard team to break down and beat to begin with, and the football will grow out from there. And personally, I prefer that. But that's just my humble
Terry,
opinion.
just on that final thing with the forward line, I think, do you think that you guys have to start with a focal point in the middle today? Because I do think it was a problem in your past 2 games having
Xerxes
Bruno up top.
Xerxes got to start. Yeah. Xerxes has got to start the game. I'm gutted Rasmus is out because he's got the speed. He's going to be back after the international break. But yeah, we need to start. We have to start with Xerxes because again, I've been really impressed with his general play. His hold up play's been good. He's brought people into the game, and look, as much as Mason Mount has pressed well, Mason Mount is so ineffective. But the thing is, I was getting,
it's like the only thing he does well.
But no, exactly. And
Terry, it's like, but Terry, you sound like me 3 years ago.
The thing with Mason Mount was it was never a deal that I praised and went, yeah, I love it. I think it's brilliant. It's amazing. He's going to change us. And it's proving even more so now. And that he's hopefully going to be one of the first players out the fucking door next year because it's not even about his ability. The man can't stay fit. The man's a cream puff. And a few people earlier said, Terry, his injuries weren't a problem at Chelsea. They started coming in at the end of his Chelsea career. Let's not get things twisted. This year, sorry, what's your prediction, David? What are you going with?
I said you were going to lose 3-1. I just haven't been that impressed with you guys. Sorry. I think you hold the ball. I think you hold the ball better, but I just don't think you're that threatening.
You've locked yourself out of the house today, and you've slagged my team off. I'm demoting you back to the kids' table, bro. You're going back to the kids' table now. Jaws, what are you predicting, my friend?
I got 3-0 Liverpool. I actually got
Jeez.
It's just going to be a big one.
Henry?
If De Ligt and Garnacho start, I'll back a Man United 2-1. If they persist with Maguire and Rashford, I'm on George's side. I think Liverpool could steamroll you.
If Man United get the win and play well, are we going to get the oh my God, Man United dangerous?
There'll be an oh my God, Man United.
I love it.